Well, it's a whole brand new day. A whole brand new year, in fact. But before we get fully underway, I'd like to take this moment to look back at 2023 in film and television. In the world of television, not much changed dramatically this year, at least not as compared to the film industry. 2024 looks to be a much more interesting year on this front, as we expected to get new seasons of House of the Dragon and The Rings of Power, and the first season of the Daily Wire's Pendragon cycle. On the other hand, if I were to describe the 2023 state of the film industry in one word, I would say chaotic. The big Hollywood studios have finally begun to take some serious damage, with Disney and Warner Brothers in particular being hardest hit. Both companies have a string of painfully large flops, with Indiana Jones and The Dial of Destiny and The Flash losing their respective parent distributors tremendous sums of money, even in a year where box office bombs, flops, and disappointments have become quite commonplace. Between Marvel and DC, with only a few exceptions, 2023's superhero films have failed abysmally at the box office. Superhero movies may be on their way out, but it's hard to say what will replace them in the years to come as the new ruling force in Hollywood. Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 was a fairly good action movie and seemed sure to be a hit, but it was one of the many flops of the year. Meanwhile, Barbie and Oppenheimer were two of the biggest successes of the year. I doubt the success of Barbie will be repeated with other toy brands, but I rather thought that we could be on track to see a resurgence of historical films. Of course, given Hollywood's current attitudes towards historical accuracy, I doubt that would be a good thing. One might argue, based on the spectacular critical and box office success of Godzilla Minus One, that we will be seeing a demand for monster movies in the near future, but I don't think so. Don't get me wrong, I'll be first in line for Godzilla X Kong because I quite like big, dumb monster movies, but I'd be shocked if that film manages to break even. There are multiple factors for the multitude of failures of 2023. Primarily, the key issue is a superabundance of bad writing, where creatives prefer to proselytize instead of, well, create. However, another key issue is the spending. Simply put, Hollywood's blockbusters have gained obscenely bloated budgets, becoming too big to succeed. Red Reckoning would have been considered a box office hit if only it hadn't cost about $300 million to make, an insane amount for a spy action film, even one with a hefty list of stars. With special effects heavy films like Godzilla Minus One costing under $15 million to make, it's clear something is rotten in the state of Hollywood budgeting. The only question is what? Of course, the other main problem in Hollywood is the after effects of the guild strikes. While they are both done, films have already been pushed back like Dune Part 2, and the supply chain of films will be disjointed for some time. On the other end of the spectrum, 2023 in film has been an interesting year for mid-budget and indie movies. Earlier in this year, I saw The Covenant and Big George Foreman. Both were excellent, and unfortunately, neither made back their budgets. Another good film was Ben Affleck's Air. While normally that film's box office would also be considered a loss, taking into account that the film was not originally even intended to be released in theaters, I'd consider the 90 million it made a win of sorts for Amazon Studios. Still, you'd have to wonder why a small drama costs about $90 million to make in the first place. Again, Hollywood has a serious budgeting problem, with cases such as The Creator being merely exceptions to the rule. Haunting in Venice was both good and a success. The Last Voyage of the Demeter was both good and a box office failure. While I was disappointed that The Covenant, Big George Foreman, and even Dead Reckoning weren't bigger hits, I was most upset by the failure of The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I had been really excited for this film, and while I certainly wasn't disappointed by the product itself, it does make me a little sad to think that, after next year's Nosferatu, we probably won't be getting that many gothic movies anytime soon. Still, it's best to look on the bright side. 2023 was also a spectacular year for certain indie studios. Angel Studios' Sound of Freedom was a monumental success, also done on a budget of less than $15 million as it happens, managing to gross $250 million over the course of 6 months. an unusual success and an unusual stay in theaters. I also thought that Angel Studios' The Shift was technically well done, even if it wasn't my favorite movie of the year. Neil McDonough is always great, however, and was another success, although by a much, much smaller margin. Angel Studios has at least two more movies coming out next year, and I'm certainly interested in seeing them. Daily Wire, meanwhile, released its comedy movie Lady Ballers. It's also not the best movie in the world, but it is a surefire sign that people are finally both able and willing to make content outside of the Hollywood bubble that isn't completely unwatchable. I am definitely excited to see what they do with the Pendragon cycle later this year. Thanks for watching, Happy New Year, and I will be back soon.